Well, Robert Munsch, I love him, and so I contacted him when I first started authoring, and he wrote me back like 4 pages. I was in awe. I couldn't believe it. And he said, "You just gotta get out there and spread your word." And he said, um, like, I didn't even know how popular my books were. I just loved reading to the kids in schools. And he said, get out there and read to them and be with them. And that's what I love. I love to be with them. And yeah, so he had great advice and encouragement. Oh, yeah, he was great.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I get to travel the world with a microphone and a pair of headphones, and I'll be in Tokyo, and then I'll be over in New Zealand, and then I'm in Africa, and the US, and then I'm like right down the street from my guest, which is like amazing. And we get on together, and it's like, well, and we both say stuff like, well, I live near Niagara Falls, because people know where that is, but people don't know where we really live. And when we got on together, we're like, wait a minute, we're neighbors, and that's even better. So you travel the world or you talk to people from home, and it's great to have somebody who's really close to where I am. I can't wait to meet you in person, Cathy, as well. But Cathy is on the podcast to talk about her children's books. So if you have kids, if you've ever met a kid, you would like to get a book for the children in your life, Cathy has a great book for you, and she's on the podcast to talk about it. Cathy, welcome to Living the Next Chapter.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you.
It's excellent. So I usually at this point ask everybody where they're from, where they are. We're both in the same part of the world, which is great. Not too far from each other. Can you let people know where you are?
So my little town is called Caister Center, and it's between Toronto and Niagara Falls.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So we're kind of neighbors, which is great. I mentioned St. Catharines is where I am, and then people are like, what's that? I'm like, okay, Niagara Falls. They're like, okay, yeah, big hill, lots of water. Okay, yeah, that's where we're close to. So we always need that point of reference, which is great.
Right, right.
Awesome. When did becoming a children's author become a reality for you? Did you dream about doing this since you were young, or is this more of a recent thing?
When I was young, I always wrote stories and poems, and every birthday card or anything that went by me was a poem or a little story in there. And then it started like tragically, from a tragic incident, actually, when when a friend of mine, her son, had taken his life, and it just startled me to the core. And I really couldn't accept it. And I didn't really know what to do to relieve this. So I put my pen to paper and I wrote a story called Bellyflies. And it is to help children learn to have tips and techniques to deal with debilitating feelings or emotions, things that they just can't move forward with. So it would be like, I coming home saying, Mommy or Daddy, I have belly flies. I don't know. I just have belly flies. Don't talk to me. I have belly flies. And using that word is like the code. Okay, something is wrong, but let's see where do you feel these belly flies? It doesn't have to just be in your belly. It can be anywhere. And so I wrote this book to take something painful and make it into something beautiful, to help children grow with these tips and techniques.
So is belly flies a common term? Because I know butterflies in my stomach. I know that.
It is becoming a common term, thankfully.
Good.
Yes, people have come up to me and said that they use this in their family. That, and sometimes the child will say, Daddy, do you have belly flies? Or Mommy, is something, do you have belly flies? And tell me about your belly flies. So it's becoming common, and with therapists and teachers and parents and children.
So belly flies can encompass what? Like excitement, nervousness, fear, any of those things?
Anxiety, yes. So I would ask where they feel it, what color do they see it as, what texture is it? Is it lumpy, or is it, and how does it feel? Does it feel tight, or does it just feel all scattered? Like, then you can kind of pinpoint what it is that they're feeling, and then build the conversation into what they did that day, what made them happy, what made them sad, and then it will grow into what exactly is the problem. Because kids, when you say, "How was your day?" they say, "Fine." And this is a way of getting around that and digging deeper and having them, giving them a voice. So giving them an easy way to communicate what they're feeling, even though they don't know what they're feeling.
So how long have you been developing the Bellyflies method? Like,
The method is just new. The Bellyflies
okay,
book was from 2014,
okay.
is when it was. My brother actually published it and gave it to me for my birthday after it
Oh,
was all complete. So I remember that. And the Bellyflies method. So the book was to help children.
hmm,
The method is to help parents and caregivers
okay,
communicate with their children and in turn help their children.
okay.
Yeah, because I was finding that it was the method itself, my message itself wasn't coming across as strongly as I was hoping for. So now that I have the parents on board helping, then it is reinforced every day.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And tell me about the audience. Like, who is the book written towards? Do you have somebody in mind as a reader for the children's books?
I'm getting very surprised that different ages are like, I would think little children, like, you know, 0 to 4, but 6, 7, 8, 9. It's um geared to anxiety. This particular book is for like a little boy has to read in front of the class and he doesn't know what's wrong with him. He's just something's wrong. And then his pet, his toy alligator becomes his friend, is his friend, and he says, "Well, when I feel like that, I do this. I go for a run, I help somebody, and I make their day special and different things. I talk to so and so and so and so." And so that is geared towards, I read it to grade 6 class because they had experienced a suicide within their class, or
Mm,
a brother of one of
yeah,
the students. And so they talked about that and they know. So I read that. They asked me to read it again. We talked about it. They asked me to read again, asked me crazy, intelligent questions
wow.
about it. And I didn't really realize how it affected everybody, but that really made it real. Like, this method or this book is really touching people.
Hmm.
And I've read it to my grandmother and people, of that age, and they really like it.
Yeah. What other comments are you getting from readers?
That their children won't go to bed until they read it and discuss their belly flies of
Hmm.
the day. Um, they they walk around with it when they're upset. They're holding it. Um, a lot of people say that the colors attract the child because it's a fully colored book,
Yeah,
and they really have fun with it. So I know when I read a book, I take each page and then I expand it. We read the
yeah.
page and we expand it, and the kids like to do that.
Interesting. I like that. The as as an author writing a children's book, you've probably learned something in the process. That we have authors listening to the show, and I'm imagining a children's author who's pressed play on this, knowing of you or your book, or out of sheer curiosity, they're here and they want to write a
Mm.
great children's book. What have you learned in the process of writing this book that you could share with a young children's book author?
Well, it was quite a journey. I've always thought that anytime I get off track, I always remember the why. Why are you doing this? What is the focus? Who are you trying to help? And that always brought me back and made my path very clear. I always when I write stories, I always try to think of the unusual, especially for children's books. Add the unusual, like the talking alligator, um, and be inclusive. My other books, I have Gonna Build a Boat, that is very inclusive, and it will help children love themselves and love others. And so if they have a why, and everybody's why is different, just keep focused on it. And you may struggle with some different things, but that's okay. It's okay to have some fallbacks. Just keep going because you know that the words that you write are meant to be out there. They're meant for children and adults to be involved in. So everything that you're doing is very important.
One thing that's unique about children's books compared to maybe some like a fiction novel or a business book is the imagery that goes along with the book too. That's a big portion of the
Right.
book is what the children see, right? When we go through this, talk a little bit about finding an artist for the book and what was that like? That's interesting
Well,
too.
I kind of cheated. On the first book, my brother did all the illustrations. I
Good.
was so lucky. But then his business got really, really busy and he couldn't. So I learned to draw myself and do it on the computer. So
Good.
that was a huge challenge, but it got what was in my mind out on the paper. And there are illustrators going through college that would love to participate. And so that's for my next big book. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get somebody who's involved in, their education, their ongoing education. And I know that they'll be eager to help me and, give them some extra money too, when they probably need it a lot. So that
Good.
it is like even when I was working with my brother, getting my image from my brain to his pen or to his computer, it was a challenge, but we just worked on it together
Yeah.
slowly and yeah, it came out pretty good.
It's a great idea about having a student help you with it because that could add to their portfolio as well. And,
Exactly.
right, they want to build that. So having a project like this might be perfect for them. It's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
It's good. So how many books do you have total right now?
Total 9 books. There's two of
Wow.
them are anthologies,
Okay.
so I'm a part of them. Two of them are in Spanish, and then the 5 other books are children's books. I mean, the 2 Spanish ones are the children's books too, but when I went to Guatemala and Costa Rica, I found the need for them. So I before I went, I made them Spanish, and then I gave them to schools and to
Nice.
individual households, yeah, that have the children in them. So it was really in Guatemala. I brought it to a home. They had dinner for me, and the one cousin read it to the other child who's I think his something with his eyelids. He couldn't go to school because he had a problem. And so the one cousin read it to him in Spanish. Oh, my heart. It was so beautiful. They were looking at the pictures and laughing. And yeah, there was a lot of experiences like that.
Is there, we're in Canada and we both have our official languages, but is there an opportunity to do it in French as well for our French speaking
That,
community?
that is a potential. Yep. I was going to do it in Ukrainian too. And I was trying to see how many people would want that. But the Ukrainian people coming over here are learning English. So if I did that, it would be 2 languages on one page so
Yeah.
that they could learn the English. So same with French. And like there's a lot of opportunity and I just getting into that right now.
Nice. Yeah, it just opens the door to more people having access to it, right? So
Right,
I
right.
love that. I love that. So for you, like the name of the podcast is Living the Next Chapter, and I always like to ask this of my authors. What is your next chapter now that your books are out in the world and you're working on things? Kind of like what is coming down the road for you?
My Bellyflies method that I'm teaching to the adults and mentoring neurodivergent children or young adults. Um, I'm I'm also working on a book for that
Okay.
with like tasks and a little curriculum in there. But I'm also doing a course for the Bellyflies method. It's it's very exciting how I'm getting responses from that.
Hmm.
And I'm I'm a certified coach, and I've mentored like within the neurodivergent community, and the geniuses I worked with. It just blows my mind. What
Mm.
I've learned from them
Yeah.
just blows my mind. Yeah, yeah. So it's so rewarding and fun. So one of the fellows I worked with, he was autistic and he was diagnosed at 3, and he has this crazy great imagination. So he wanted to write a book. So we wrote together 5 books, and he did the drawings, and it was really good. It was
Mm.
really fun. Yeah.
What is your connection with the neurodiverse community? My nieces are have autism, and they're the brilliance and creativity that they have. Like, it's a whole different level. I just listen to them, and it just seems natural to them. It just
It
flows,
is.
right?
Yeah.
So, what's your
Yeah.
connection with the community?
Well, I have a son who's has neurodivergencies. Like there's different things in there that
Yeah.
he has. And so I grew up, I mean, he grew up with me, and I wish I would have known these things in the Bellyflies method then that I just didn't know. And
Hmm.
there was struggles. There was a lot of struggles because I didn't understand how to communicate with him. And like homework, there was tears, and uh, so and I've dealt with other neurodivergent people, and I just see that there's a need for this. And to ease the frustrations of the parents and the caregivers I think people just need this. And I want to do whatever I can to help the situation out and help them
Yeah.
communicate and have a really great relationship. Mhm.
Okay. So, the butterflies method, then, when you're doing teaching and helping people, is it primarily then just focus on adults? Is that your main focus for the method?
Well, the parents are the ones that are coming to me and the caregivers.
Yep.
And it's helping them to communicate with their child, neurodivergent or not. I kind of think there's not really a neurotypical because I think everybody has something.
Yeah.
But for when I mentored children or young adults, I basically used this method before I wrote it down. And then I realized, well, there is a method in my head going around. I thought I was just, doing what I learned, but it was more than that. It was um I I just I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
Uh, when my children were young, I went to volunteer at a children's hospital, and they said, "No, sorry, we don't take volunteers." But a bunch of children are going into a room for story time. Do you want to join them? And I said, yes, I definitely do. So I went in there, and there was children with spina bifida. There was other very serious concerns with different children. And I went in there and I sat down, and they were sitting on me and playing with my hair and hugging me and listening to the story. And I was just soaking up all this love and giving it right back. And then when I came out, the receptionist said to me, you're glowing. You are beaming. You have to do this in your lifetime somehow. But I was working, and I had a young family, and things just kind of built up. It was really hard for me to do what I knew that I loved to do.
Hmm.
And then eventually I did Special Olympics. I worked there, and I just loved it. And children's games, I worked with the special group up there too. And I knew that somewhere inside of me, I needed to help people. I needed to help children, get through these hard times. So now it's becoming a reality.
Well, I love when people find their bliss and find their joy, right? Their purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I say. From pain to purpose. That's went from the pain of my friend's son into the purpose
Yeah.
of where I'm trying to save these children.
I love that. And I think that's something we're all on a journey to find. That from
Right.
pain to purpose. I think that's very encapsulating. I like that. That's good.
Thank you.
So, okay, who else inspires you as an author? I always kind of like to kind of find that out from my guests. there's got to be somebody out there that you look to for inspiration, and you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
really like how they do this.
Well, Robert Munsch,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I love him. And so I contacted him when I first started authoring, and he wrote me back
Nice.
like 4 pages. I was in awe. I couldn't
Wow.
believe it. And he said, you just gotta get out there and spread your word. And he said, um, like, I didn't even know how popular my books were. I just loved reading to the kids in schools. And he said, get out there and read to them and be with them. And that's what I love. I love to be with them. And yeah, so he had great advice and encouragement. Oh, yeah, he was great.
So if Robert Bunch listens to this episode and hears you talk, what would you like him to know?
Oh,
Come on.
thank you. Thank you for encouraging me and thank you for um, spurring me on. When I think that, oh, things aren't going the way I want, I remember what he said. I remember what you said, Robert. And it just kept me going. It's keeping me going to this day.
Right. You never know. You never know. He might hear this episode and go, wow. 'Cause we all want to have impact in our life. We all
Yeah.
want to do the thing we do what we love. And then someone else either being inspired to do something similar or help someone in some way. So the fact that he sitting down to write without realizing the impact that he's going to have on you as an author, which then gives you the opportunity to impact someone else.
Right.
We don't really understand all of that when we sit down to write our next book, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you just hope that that love comes through what you write
Mhm.
and it spreads worldwide. Just that love.
How does it feel to think that someone's going to think the same of you that you think of Robert Munch,
Ah, I would love that.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be really special.
To hear somebody reach out to you one day and be like, Cathy, you changed my life and
Oh,
you gave me focus and I'm now an author because of you,
yeah. That would be really special.
right?
Mm.
So as you listen to this and you hear Cathy talk and you're like, I think I can do this now because of Cathy's words of wisdom and guidance, encouragement. I think I can do this. When you do it, reach out to Cathy and tell her, because of Cathy, you are now on a path to find
Oh,
your bliss.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be
You know,
nice. Mhm.
I like it. I like it. So, okay, we talked a little bit about what's coming down the road for you. The one thing I'd love to do too, Cathy, is kind of give the opportunity to you to share where you're most active online and all of that information so people can follow up with you and learn from you and get the books and all that stuff. And come join
Sure.
you for your Bellyflies method as well. But and then I have a question at the end, but can you kind of just give us your contact information where we go?
Sure. Okay, for the books, they're at Amazon and you can go to Cathy Gagliardi and you can see all the books there. I have a web page for my books called twinklinglinks.com. For my Bellyflies method, I have bellyfliesmethod.com and you can just put your email in there and subscribe. And if you want me to message you back or you want to chat for a while and see how I could help you, if I could help you. And then my email address is Cathy at bellyfliesmethod.com. And remember that, you're not alone. If you ever want to have a chat, please do. I'd love to help you out if I can. And I don't have a website for my Bellyflies method yet,
Okay.
but it's coming.
Okay, it's in the works. I love it.
Yes.
Good. We'll make sure we have links to everything there.
Thank you.
You do read to classes and at schools.
Yes.
Maybe you'd be available to do something over Zoom with a group of
I
people
would
as
love
well,
that.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So those are opportunities. And then if a young author had questions around writing a children's book,
Please.
they could reach out to you as well.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. That's great. If it wasn't for Bellyflies, what would be the book that you would write if you hadn't have done this? Or in addition to this, what would be another book that would be really fun for you to write? Just joy, like not a hard work, just joy. What kind of book would you write?
Well, I was writing a kid's story, like Lord of the Rings kind of thing.
Oh,
But it got lost on my computer. But I would love to do that. Yeah, I have a crazy imagination. And so doing something like that is like my next big journey after I'm done the Bellyflies book and done my, everything I have to do for that. I will continue on teaching in that. But yes, I think that would be my goal, to just write something crazy imaginative for that.
I love it. Awesome. Cathy, thank you so much for doing this. And the fact that you and I are neighbors sort of is kind of great. I love that. So that was a good joy to connect over that.
Oh, I know.
Excited for you and all the great things coming.
Thank
I know
you.
it seems like a long path to get to here, but there's so many great things ahead for you as you help us as parents to build better connections with our children. And I think your book is a great big step forward for that, for all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent,
Thank
everyone.
you so much for having me.
I love it. It's great. Everyone head over to the notes in the podcast. You'll have all the links for Cathy to the book, to the method, everything that she has to offer. And I encourage everyone, when you buy the book, leave an amazing review as well for Cathy so that more people know about the book. And as you're listening to this, you're like, I have grandchildren, I have neighbors, I have nieces and nephews. Then just go ahead and buy the book for them too, okay? So buy multiple copies and send them out to your family. And let's help support a great Canadian author. And to Robert Munsch, thank you so much for your inspiration. Yes. And I'm excited to see what's next for you, Cathy. Again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. It was great.
Hey, thanks for being here for the Living the Next Chapter podcast. So glad to have you as part of our family of listeners. There's a seat for you just here on Living the Next Chapter, and I'm so happy that you have listened to all the way to the end. Wow, you are now my new bestie. I want to let you know that I host 7 other podcasts on top of Living the Next Chapter. Yep, 8 total. One of them is called the How To Podcast series. If you are thinking, you know what, Dave, this podcast thing seems like a lot of fun, well, I'll give you a secret. It is. It's a great, amazing, fun time where you can get to meet great people, get your word out there, promote your book, promote what your coaching program, whatever you're doing. Podcasting is great. And if you want to learn how to do this, what you're hearing right now, head over to howtopodcast.ca and look up the How to Podcast series on YouTube, whatever app you're listening on. You'll find me there. And I'd love for you to come listen to how to do this. And if you're interested and have questions on how to podcast, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Thank you for listening. Talk soon.